Hi, posting this video in response to the debate started by TXHalabi. I'm going to be reading from some notes, so excuse my eyes wandering. I'd like to be honest and say that I've taken Shahada. I'm a kind of follower of. I use zikr prayers. I'm not what may be called an orthodox believer. I use the form of zikr that's appropriate to me. I kind of like the form of Islam, the new movement, which I suppose is arisen from the Wahhabi. I'm not a fan of Wahhabi at all, but I like the Quran only school, just focused on the Quran. So I'd like to talk about the issues that TXHalabi has raised, but to put the issues in a broader context. Essentially, my perception is that now that Islam is coming to the West, Islam will probably go through a similar process which other religions have done when they came to the West. Because in the West we value analytical thinking, or what's called critical thinking, we tend to expose aspects of religions which the indigenous cultures don't expose. The indigenous cultures accept the traditions and the customs, etc. But we in the West tend to challenge things. I'll give you an example of this process. I used to be a Buddhist monk, but when Buddhism came to the West, it was ripped apart. Western scholars of Buddhism, we just discovered all sorts of things. Buddhist misogyny, the similarities between the birth stories of Buddha and the similarities between the birth stories of Santa Claus, and they're just completely rubbish. They're just myths and legends, which Asian Buddhists accept as truth, but Western Buddhists just say, well, actually, wait a minute, let's be honest about this. The Western Buddhists expose the lies contained within the ancient Buddhist texts, which are called the Tripitaka. In the ancient Indian Pali language, the texts are called the Tripitaka, but they're full of myths and legends which the Asian Buddhists take as truth, but the Western Buddhists don't. Christianity went through a similar process of being exposed. One thing that shocked many Orthodox Christians is that Western researchers have shown that outside of the Bible there's only one historian that talks about Jesus Christ, and that was a Jewish historian called Josephus. And there's many similarities between so-called Christian festivals and paganism. Like the best known one is Easter. So Islam's going to go through a similar process of being exposed, and TXHalabi has, I suggest, has started that. I'm going to cover up because I want to show you something on the internet, and I just want to keep privacy and hide the contents of my room. But I'm going to show you this thing on the internet. So look at this. This is the beginning of the process of the exposure. It's the New York Times. And it says, scholars are quietly offering new theories of the Quran. And it's all about new research that's been done. For example, there's one German researcher. He doesn't use his real name because he doesn't want to be killed. But he's a scholar of ancient Semitic languages, and he's saying that the modern Quran is not the same as the early versions of the Quran. He's saying if you look at the early Qurans that we have, the Aramaic, it looks like they've been copied from older sources and changed. So I'm going to cover up now and go back to my corner. So the process of exposing the myths and exposing the legends in the Quran, which Muslims take as truth, that process has begun already, and it will continue, and TXHalabi is making significant contributions to that. in the West, you know, the Quran is very heavy about believing. All you have to do is believe, and that's what the New Testament says as well. Believe and you'll be saved. But in the West, we value the God-given ability to think, to analyse, and to doubt. To doubt is a divine thing. To ask why. Children always ask why. Oh, why? And we in the West believe in using critical thinking. So hold on. Yeah, it's very obvious that many Muslims claim that the Quran is the divine inspired word and nothing can be changed. But in the West, we don't tend to accept that. Some Muslims talk about, that the Quran can be proved by scientific analysis. But to be honest with you, if you really want to use scientific analysis to look at the Quran, then let's do that. But let's use real science, not kind of fake science. Some Muslims can't have it both ways. They can't say, well, yes, science proves the Quran, but then when we use real science, real logic, they say, no, 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 that's not allowed. In English we say you can't have the cake and eat it too. If the Muslim community wants to use science, then let's use science. Let's really use it. So that's what I just want to say, that the Quran will go through a similar, the Quran in Islam will go through a similar process that other religions went when they came to the West. And this process has just begun. TXHalabi is maybe one of the pioneers, but the article that I showed you in the New York Times, the Quran will go through a similar textual and inspection process as the Hebrew Bible, as the Greek Bible, the New Testament went through, and the process is just beginning. So the Muslim community, the Ummah, should get used to the Quran being questioned in ways that it's never been questioned in Islamic countries, and TXHalabi is only the beginning. So as someone who's taken Shahada, and as someone who's committed to zikr and following the truth, I offer this my humble video. Okay, thank you, bye.